Christopher Norris here from mining.com.au. Joining me today is Minbos CEO Lindsay Reed. Lindsay, great to see you.
Chris, great to see you as well.
Lindsay, the company has received an indicative term sheet for a 14 million USD loan facility from the Industrial Development Corporation of South Africa. Tell us a little bit more.
Well, the IDC is a development finance institution established back in the 1940s to help with the development and industrial development of South Africa. It's great that they're reaching outside of South Africa and getting into places like Angola and expanding into their SADC range. Big vote of confidence that the IDC is willing to come into Angola and really expresses how the world's changing for Angola. It's seen as a financeable destination. But also great that it's linking countries inside SADC to say, look, what's happening in Angola is not actually separate to what's happening in South Africa, and there seems to be a really good opportunity to actually grow both economies.
And you've mentioned the potential for offtake arrangements based on your engagements with the IDC. How important is a potential commercial deal like this?
It's really, the timing is very fortuitous because the government of Angola is progressing very rapidly again on the deep water port in Cabinda. And I think in the presidential address a couple of days ago, the president said they hope to have it up and running next year. So that's a very aggressive time frame. That means that the export market is now open to us as well as the internal market. And, there's not a lot of fertiliser made in the whole of the sub-Saharan Africa, let alone just in Angola. So there's a good opportunity, I think, to send some of our product down to South Africa and feed into their network of industry, which is right in the wheelhouse of the IDC, because that's what they're trying to sponsor. Yeah.
And in addition to the IDC, you mentioned exploring other complementary financing options. What does that look like?
Yeah, well, as well as the opportunity sort of, double the capacity of our project and export the balance, there's other people that are interested in taking the other half of the capacity of the project and putting it into making yellow phosphorus inside the country. So we're now in a position where we might have options going forward. So there's potential financing that could come, which could look very, very different to that. So we'll continue to progress on that front because the key with yellow phosphorus is cheap phosphate rock. And so there might be an ability there to come in at an asset level rather than the company level. Either way, we're pursuing funding that's not dilutionary for shareholders.
And the company released their DFS in October last year. Since then, what's been the biggest standout?
The standout changes, we had made some sales projections on what we thought could roll out in Angola. Since then, we've signed a memorandum of understanding with the largest food aggregator in Angola, Group Cahinho. Their target is really aggressive, and they've got support from the IFC and a sovereign guarantee from the government itself. And last year they rolled out to 58,000 smallholder farmers. This year they're targeting 150,000 smallholder farmers, and they want to get to 1 million smallholder farmers within about 6 years, and then their ultimate target is to get to 2 million smallholder farmers. They need 1 million smallholder farmers to fill up the factory that they've built, and they're rapidly in the process of doubling the capacity of that factory. So that drags our sales forecasts a little bit forward, which helps our cash flows, obviously. So, we've got to bring those into reality and bring the production into reality and get it down there and get it on the ground. But, that gives us an opportunity to really make our cash flow and our NPV and IRR look better than they were in the DFS. The other ones is we, changed the flow sheet and simplified it. That resulted in quite a big saving on the CapEx. And I think importantly going forward, we originally ordered a beneficiation plant. Everything had to go through that 3 or 4 times before it came out the right size at the end. With our beneficiation model, it only has to go through once. So a lot of the major equipment is already spec'd at 500,000 tonnes per annum. So it's not a lot to change the things that are at the front of the plant and the back of the plant to double the capacity of the plant. We had an estimate done earlier on that said that was somewhere in between 1 million and 3.5 million to achieve that. So, whether we go the export option or the yellow phosphorus option, the incremental capex to get to that is relatively small compared to the capex to get started. So, yeah, pretty exciting.
And Lindsay, finally, Minbos was recently mentioned in the State of the Nation address by President Lorenzo. That must have been pretty special.
What's more important is the bigger plans that he has and that they've announced, and at his level and the ministry level, and also groups like Group Cahinho at the private level, World Bank coming in, French, Netherlands governments are putting into programs, IFC is putting in programs. Angola, short history, big oil development in the last couple of decades. A lot of people participated in that. A lot of people got left behind. Government's put all of these initiatives in to try and drag up the other 10 million that are left behind. And the Grupo Cabinda facility is targeting those 10 million people that get their main living from smallholder farming. We are, as I said, Cabinda Project or Grande Impacto. Our project is small. It's a small part of that. But the most important nutrient need in Angola is phosphorus. There'll be other needs going on as the agriculture develops in Angola, and I believe it will be one of the strongest agriculture countries in the world. But right now, the need is for phosphorus. So for the president to mention us is great. But what's more important is when he talks about his plans for agriculture and building on the oil and the diamonds that they have with the resources and capitalising on the infrastructure they've built with that to actually build an agricultural industry, which I believe will be bigger than their oil industry one day, and it'll actually involve more people and result in much more prosperity. If you think of prosperity as training and education and health and a society working together to support all people in society. So yeah, look, that's great to be mentioned, but we're a small part of really big plans that the country has.
That was Lindsay Reed, CEO of Minbos. Lindsay, thanks very much for your time.
No problems. Thanks, Chris.